The customer comes up to your desk, just like every other customer. Only this one was different. She started angry, and she just seems to be getting more fired up the more she tells you about her complaint. Her brows furrow, her face flushes, and she just gets louder and louder. Your job is to help her feel better about her experience at your store, but the stress of listening to her shout at you is leaving you completely drained. You both want to yell right back or run away, not that either of those options will help you keep your job. You don't know what to do. Your training prepared you for answering general customer service questions, but you barely touched on what to do if your customer is freaking out. Let's face it, completing a 5-minute angry customer role-playing scenario 4 months ago with Mike in Human Resources didn't get you ready for this. You try and think, what did they tell me to do if this happened? But you're drawing a complete blank. A complete and total blank.
Hi, my name is Bianca Woods, and this situation is the one that my media project is looking to prevent. Over the past 12 months, I've researched how stress affects critical thinking skills and degrades the ability to recall important information. I've also looked at how repeated practice can combat the effects of stress, and how video game simulations are an excellent place to rehearse these skills. It's this research that led to my thesis topic of using simulations to practice high-stress skills, and this thesis that led to my media project, a simulation game in which retail employees can practice assisting angry customers.
This project actually began in month 1 of my program at Full Sail. As we built our class social networks and started playing around on our MacBook Pros, I worked towards figuring out just what it was that I wanted to explore with my thesis and media project. In a typical case of write what you know, my first plan was to propose software that would address how to teach adults math skills. At the time, I was teaching remedial math to adults who had been injured on the job and were retraining for new careers, and I was quite frankly frustrated with the lack of math software designed for adults. I was enamored with the idea of envisioning software, but, thanks to general job dissatisfaction I suspect, a bit uninspired in the end with the idea of spending 12 months of my life revolving around remedial math. It wasn't a bad idea, it just wasn't the idea I wanted to pursue. It was on an obnoxiously long commute into Toronto with my boyfriend one sunny afternoon that I figured out what my thesis and media project focus should be. We were discussing my general hesitance about my thesis idea, and I was bouncing alternatives off of my boyfriend to kill time. It was then that he mentioned an interesting area of educational technology, how companies were starting to investigate simulation games for training. The idea clicked with me. I had begun my degree at Full Sail with the hope that it could lead to a career in corporate training or instructional design, and what better way to prepare for that than concentrating on a thesis and media project that had a business application? The idea set my brain in motion, and by the end of that car ride, I not only had the gist of my project focus, I'd already figured out what kind of training my project software would address. Our in-car chat had made me think about 2 Malcolm Gladwell books I'd read. The first, Outliers, had a large section on the amount of training it takes to learn a skill at mastery level, a whopping 10,000 hours. The second, Blink, discussed how stressful situations reduced people's critical thinking skills. It also briefly mentioned a security firm that had repeatedly exposed its employees to simulated stressful job situations, and how this practice helped the employees be less affected by stress in real-world situations. My thesis topic was set. I would propose the use of simulation games that would help to rehearse skills that would be performed under stress. This game could help a player gain the practice needed to move towards a 10,000-hour mastery goal, but at a reasonable cost to the employer. I did some exploring to determine what was currently on the market in this subset of training simulations. Through my research, I encountered some military software that dealt with simulating experiences, but nothing that was exactly like what I was planning. The closest program I found was one called Incident Commander, which was designed to train public safety managers to deal with incidents ranging from natural disasters to terrorism. The program simulated a number of stressful scenarios, but was not in and of itself designed around what science knows about how people respond to stress, nor the 10,000-hour rule. Overall, the simulations I found were quite narrow in scope and use, pertaining only towards training a small number of skills within a few industries. I believed, however, that simulation games had significantly more applications than the market was currently addressing. I also believed that designing these simulations specifically around the 10,000-hour rule and the idea of conditioning the body against stress would make simulations that were more effective than what was currently on the market. As I moved through my classes and started developing my thesis topic, I came across information in the Month 5 Training and Development class that changed how I look at designing lessons. In that month, we were assigned a text on creating presentations, Presentations Zen by Gar Reynolds. This text completely refreshed and inspired me. Reynolds' style of boiling down content to just the essentials and editing out anything non-essential shaped how I looked at presenting my material. His minimalist visual style and use of bold text and high-quality photographs also showed me how to give my media project a polished look without the assistance of a trained graphic designer. It was also Reynolds who, through a book recommendation on his blog, pointed me in the direction of a source for the science behind how the body reacts to stress, Brain Rules by John Medina. In Brain Rules, Medina explained the biological reasoning behind the effects of stress noted by Gladwell. When the body reacts to stress, it responds by releasing stress hormones to prepare one's system for danger, which creates a temporary heightening of senses and physical abilities. This response was designed to solve short, momentary problems that lasted for seconds. However, modern humans currently live in a world in which their body reacts to significantly longer periods of perceived stress. The brain reacts in a number of harmful ways as a response to long-term exposure to bad stress chemicals, including a decreased ability to interpret environmental signals, a reduced ability to store memories, and an inability to access higher-order thinking skills. Most harmful to job skill performance is a tendency by which individuals under stress revert to tried-and-true behaviors, in which many cases can be the original novice-level skills obtained when one first learned to perform a task. Any one of these responses can create a decreased ability to perform tasks, learn new skills, and think critically about situations. Medina showed that stress was detrimental to job performance, but Gladwell showed that the negative effects of stress could be combated through many hours of deliberate practice. Here was the scientific backing for why my proposed program would benefit companies.